I will tell you a quick aside before I go into the reflection. The first few lines of this gospel gave me great fits trying to read it. When the Lord said, "He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man," a couple of times I said, "He who sows good weed is the Son of Man." I kept breaking into fits of giggles, and needless to say, the Lord and I had quite a good discussion on that one, and quite a good laugh. He understands what weed is in this world, but then I described to him good weed and the movies associated thereof, and he got quite a good laugh, understanding why I was basically rolling around in the bed here giggling myself stupid. So the Lord does not ever sow good weed, if you ever get there. Our reflection today is on our travels through the first books of the Old Testament, the Pentateuch. As we've discussed through Genesis and Exodus, the Lord God Almighty is a very angry God, because, as I've discussed previously, the children of Israel keep pissing him off. They keep making and breaking covenants. That is why he says, "I am slow to anger, rich in kindness and fidelity, forgiving wickedness, crime, and sin, not declaring the guilty and the guiltless, but punishing the children and the grandchildren to the third and fourth generation for their father's wickedness." That God, the angry God, changed when his Son was born, when he gave his begotten Son to the world. He let go of that anger. He let go of that retribution, that holding on of the grudge, if you will, that third, fourth, into the eighth generation in some versions, holding the guilt of the father against the children through 8 generations. That's gone in the New Testament. That's gone with the birth of his Son. So when I speak in my sermons or lessons or reflections, whatever you wish to call them, about this being a new age with the birth of Jesus, this being a new covenant, because that is what Jesus tells us. That is the entire purpose of Christ coming to the world. That signals to the world, this is the new covenant. This is the start of the new covenant. This is the only covenant now. And from this day forward, and for all time forward, until the end of the age, until Jesus Christ comes again, this is the law. Love one another as I have loved you. Love your neighbor as yourself. And he is the rule. God is the Father, and in the Father is the Son. The Son and the Father are consubstantial. They are the same. So what the Son says is what the Father says. So you do not refer back to the Old Testament and says, well, the Old Testament says this. No, you refer to what Jesus Christ says. And Jesus Christ says, I am the life. He who believes in me will never die. And love everyone as yourself. So quit referring to the Old Testament and saying these are abomination, these people we hate, and do this. If we were to live by the Old Testament, you would not be having rayon and nylon and wool and cotton in the same clothing, you stupid people. If you were going to live as the New Testament, then you would not be having cats and dogs living in the same home. You would not be having your children living in the same household under the same roof, because boys and girls could not live under the same roof under the Old Testament. If you're going to live under the Old Testament, go the whole way. Do not have clothing from different cloths and from different flax, from different plants at the same time, because that is a sin. You cannot have children from different mothers under the same roof at the same time, because that is a sin. Get a clue, people. That is why Christ came, so that we could live by his law, his very simple law. Love one another as yourself. Love is the law, and it is the first law. So you who claim to be Christians, you churches who claim to be of Christ, rule number 1, if you exclude a single person because of their gender, their race, or their sexual orientation, you have failed Christ, and you have failed to be Christian. The Old Testament is the old law. The New Testament is the new law. Get a clue. It's only been around for 2,000 years. I am not a new preacher. I am not a new mind. I am in 2019. I am a mind that the Lord has created and kept alive. But you people who exclude others, you are old and you are filled with hate because you only want the devil. It might be fear that is holding you back, and it is your own hatred that you allow to overtake you. Choose Christ in love or the devil in hate. Those are your choices.